The bigger they are, the harder they fall. The bigger they are, the harder they can fall. The more enemies you get in this life, the more they can fall down. And never, never underestimate somebody. I want to go back to my boy King David for a moment. Oh, David. The story on David and Goliath. And I just want to paraphrase this story and tell it where a child could understand. And I want to give a shout out to my man, Ron53, in this video, because you and your son want to look at this video and paraphrase it. Well, I would love to do that, man. First of all, we have to understand about David, a man after God's own heart, skillful. Bible say he was handsome, skillful. He was a warrior. He didn't mind getting down and dirty for the Lord. In so many ways, David was like a gangster for the Lord. Just my little old opinion, because he didn't mind killing for the Lord. And there came a time when the Philistines' army had gathered up. They were getting ready to have war against Israel. And when they faced each other, it was a lot of people that didn't want to fight. They didn't. And there was this big old giant, very big. We call him Goliath. And I think he was about, 9 feet tall. And he was loaded down with full armor. Ready. And for 40 days, he was mocking and challenging the Israelites to a fight. But a lot of Israel was scared. And at the time, Saul, King Saul, the king of Israel at the time, and the whole army were terrified. They were just pretty much scared of Goliath, because Goliath been out there charging them up all that time, talking to them crazy, insulting them. But here was young David at the time. See, David was a servant before he was king, and David served well. David, young David, the youngest son of Jesse, he went out there to see what was going on. And he thought about the Lord, I believe, in so many ways, because David was sent out there to battle lines by his father to bring back news of his brothers. So David was probably a teenager around this time. And while David was out there, he heard Goliath talking that noise. See, the bigger they are, the harder they can fall. And David wasn't all that big either. But see, when you got God on your side, you're bigger than anybody. And David heard that noise talking from Goliath. And I can see him in my spiritual mind looking around talking about, man, what is Israel doing? We gonna sit there and let this man talk to us like that? Hold on. See, I'm gonna do something about this, because I ain't no coward for the Lord. And I stand bold. I go out here and make a believer out this tall giant. And by David being the handsome, skillful young man that he is, I can just have a little fun with this story, see David and Goliath saying, what this pretty boy gonna do? Because the Bible teaches us how handsome David is and skillful, and he write those poems and poetry, and he's just good at what he do. What this little pretty boy right here gonna do? See, David heard Goliath shouting out there all that noise, talking, so David volunteered to fight Goliath. Just keep up with me. I'll be through in a minute. You see what I said? He volunteered to fight Goliath. See, and I know it took some convincing and to get him out there, because King Saul finally agreed to let David go on out there and fight. My question is, if King Saul was the king, why was King Saul so scared? And David dressed up in this simple little old clothes, man. This little simple little old stuff he had on, this little shepherd wardrobe, and all David say, where my slingshot at, partner? Give me my pouch, and I got my little stones in here, and I'm going to show y'all how to make a believer out this tall giant right here. And David approached Goliath. And Goliath started cursing at David. Threats and insults. And I can see David scratching his head and saying, this fool done came straight out of a comic book. Because David said to this big old giant, this Philistine, he said, you come against me with sword and spear. But I come up against you in the name of the Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel. You ain't going to be able to whoop me, partner. Today, I'm going to give you a lesson on who's in charge. And I can see Goliath laughing at David. This little man crazy. Talking, no, let me go on, make a believer out of David. At least that's what Goliath thought. And Goliath went in for the kill. He gone in to make his little move, but David reached into that bag, got that slingshot ready, slung one of them stones, hit Goliath right in that head, finding a little hole in the armor. That stone sank into that forehead. And Goliath, that big old tall giant, fell face down on the ground. David then looked. Yeah, what you gonna say now, partner? He looked as Goliath fell to the ground. Then he took Goliath's sword, killed him, then cut off his head. See, David was a G for the Lord. That's gangster right there. When the Philistines saw what David just did to this big old giant, he was dead, they took off running. Then that's when Israel started chasing after them and killing them. See, my point is, when you got God fighting on your side, you can't lose. And people always talk so much bad about David, how, oh, he committed adultery and he was a murderer and he messed with Bathsheba and all this. But David was a man after God's own heart. And David did a lot of good things well. Why was they out there for 40 days to begin the battle? Probably a whole lot of reasons we could understand that. Because everyone was afraid of Goliath. And even Saul, like I say, even King Saul at the time, King Saul supposed to have been one of the tallest men in Israel, but he didn't even step out to fight. Here come little David with his slingshot, taking them out. See, they go to show you also, it don't matter how small you are. You can knock out your big giants in his life. Now, we are all dealing with enemies, and I'm not saying go out here and kill your enemy. What I'm saying is, the Lord say vengeance is mine, but in this story here, we see where David had to fight. This is why I tell people, they got it mixed up about you supposed to be a coward for the Lord. No, I don't know what planet they living on, because I'm going to be just like David. I'm a man after God's own heart, and I ain't perfect either. And when you try to smite me on the cheek, I'm going to try to break your jaw. Because I'm not going to turn the other cheek if somebody is swinging at me or coming to kill me. You coming to kill me, I'm going to try my best to kill you before you kill me. See, we have to learn a lot from these things. Why? Ecclesiastes tells us there is a time to make war and there's a time to make peace. And with all of this stuff going on nowadays, you don't know what's coming up on you next. David chose not to even wear the king's armor. He didn't put on no armor. He just had his simple slingshot and his little shepherd clothes. Ain't that something? And look at the weapon that he used, a slingshot. See, God will use some unique skills he done already placed in your hands. And even when you look at his son, Solomon, how wealthy and powerful Solomon was. See, we can learn so much in this word of God. David's faith, David's faith in God caused him to look at the giant from a whole different perspective. Goliath was big. But see, David looked at him and said, he's smaller than me. And David took him out just like that. If we look at giant problems and thinking that God can't help us, we got a problem. We don't believe in God like you say you are, like you say you do. Excuse me. When that giant went out to kill David, David didn't even hesitate. He criticized them. He insulted them. He threatened them. David didn't even stop to think about it. Everyone else was cowards to me. They were scared. So David got gangster for the Lord. He ran to the battle. He knew action needed to be taken. And he said, you know what? I'm going to be the one. Let me go out here because this fool comes straight out of a comic book. If he think I'm going to sit back, the God that I serve, I don't serve no coward God. Let me go on and show this fool what time it is. And with that being said, God bless you and God keep you. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. How are you dealing with your giants in your life? Y'all take care and have a blessed day.